The US is facing another impasse over its massive deficit, with the so-called super committee failing to reach agreement over ways to cut the budget. The committee had been tasked with finding $1.2 trillion worth of cuts, but with an election looming, there's a political divide on Capitol Hill that neither side is helping to bridge. North America correspondent Lisa Miller reports.
Tonight, they couldn't get it done. The super committee gives up on cutting the deficit.
This is World News, and tonight's super failure.
It was a super committee that became a super bust. It had been given 2 months to find $1.2 trillion in savings.
Can you tell us where things stand? We're still talking.
As the hours ticked down, the media tracked the committee members' every move.
I'm just not going to comment on where we are or what we're doing.
Behind closed doors, there was talk of last-minute negotiations, but in reality, there was little hope the 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans could break the impasse. As night fell, they quit in defeat and fired shots at each other.
Although we came close in this committee, there remained a gap. Republicans believe that with spending being much higher than it has historically been, that we need to restrain the spending and do so in a way that's pro-growth, through tax reform in particular. And Democrats believe that we ought to pay for the increased spending by much higher taxes. And that's a fundamental difference. And until we resolve that difference, it was tough to have this committee come together.
I'm disappointed tonight that things I cared about deeply, which is getting our country back on track and making sure that we had shared sacrifice, aren't the result of this committee's long work.
It set the scene for even bigger battles in 2012 in the lead up to the election.
That's where we're stuck, my friends. America is stuck with the absolute rigidity of people who wanted to protect the wealthiest people in the country instead of providing $1.2 trillion of deficit reduction. So that's the fight. That's the fight we have to take out to the country over the course of these next months.
The committee's failure will trigger harsh, across-the-board cuts to federal budgets. Cuts that were meant to be so onerous, both sides would be forced to compromise to avoid them. They'll kick in 2013, and the President has already warned Congress against finding ways to dodge them.
My message to them is simple. No. I will veto any effort to get rid of those automatic spending cuts to domestic and defense spending. There will be no easy off-ramps on this one. We need to keep the pressure up to compromise, not turn off the pressure.
The White House has been quick to reassure Americans this is not the same dire situation they faced earlier this year, when the country almost defaulted on its debt and its credit rating was downgraded. But with the national debt now topping $15 trillion, the outlook is grim. The markets fell 300 points in anticipation of more gridlock on Capitol Hill. By the end of the day, they'd recovered, but hanging over the economy is the spectre of another year of congressional wrestles over the ballooning debt. Lisa Miller, Lateline.